Hello everyone, welcome to Fast Track on Herald Global. I am Saimik Sen. Joining us today, an eminent storyteller and poet from Goa, Miss Tanvi Bambolkar. Thank you so much, Miss Bambolkar, for taking out this time for us. Welcome to Herald Global.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let me begin by asking you what inspired you to pursue a career in the world of storytelling and literature?
I think it takes me back to my childhood. I grew up in a very humble village called Bandora in Ponda in Goa. And, where I grew up amidst books, drama, music, and beautiful nature. My father, Mr. Sridhar Bambolkar, was also an eminent artist and theatre personality from Goa.
Of course.
Uh, Yeah, so he also inspired me and, exposed me to the world of storytelling and literature. So that entire environment was always there at home. And of course, with the help of many of my friends and teachers in the later part of my life, I think it pushed me even more to, write what I see around and what I experience.
Okay, so can you tell us something about your award winning play Logout?
Yeah, so Logout is a play that I wrote when I was in my early 20s,
Okay.
and it was just sitting in my closet, and I was not letting it come out because I was not sure whether it is worth getting performed. But then I am associated with a group called Antrus Gudio, and which works in cultural and social field, especially for the language of Konkani, for quite many years now. And so they decided that they would like to perform this play
Sure.
in Kala Academy's drama competition. And special mention to my brother Kalanan Bambolkar, who also directed this play.
Okay.
So this play is basically about modern relationships in comparison to the traditional relationships. So it's a story about a couple who does this experiment about living together. Or some may call it as live-in relationship, but they don't really have a live-in relationship. They just decide to stay together just to try and see whether things can be worked out between them, and how a major part of this, a major character of this play is a Facebook screen. We had put up a screen while performing, so all the thoughts of the protagonist Kavya
Okay.
appear on that Facebook screen. Okay, so it also becomes like a alter ego, and that's what I think today's generation
Oh,
is
wow.
doing. Their relationships are so much influenced by social media and the modern
Very
mediums.
true.
So I just thought of showing it through the medium of drama and performance. That's what Logout is about, and I'm glad that it got the kind of recognition that which I had not even expected, frankly
Of
speaking.
course. True. Amazing. Your poetry collection probably explores themes like life, love, relationship. What was the journey behind it? Can you take us through it?
Yeah, sure. So Pauri basically means, droplets of water, rainwater specifically, dribbling down from, rooftop. Basically, that is
Okay.
Pauri. And it's very interesting how there are these certain words from language Konkani, which are so difficult to literally translate in English because they are so culturally ingrained.
True.
So Pauli is that basically. It's that you like to take that small droplets of water on your hand when it's raining. So my poems have been like that. They slowly have come in my creative inspiration, and I've tried to write them whenever possible. So Pauri Poetry Collection is a collection of all the poems that I wrote, since probably when I was in college, somewhere at the age of 18 till the age of probably 25, 26. So it's a long period that. So you can literally see the growth of my poems in that,
Sure.
and it has different emotions. Most of the poems are love poems, obviously, because I think that's the age where you experience these emotions,
Sure.
and
True.
you kind of try to vent it out or channel it out from creative pursuits. So that is what I used to do. And also has some poems which are, which I felt, which were triggered by something that I saw around me. It could be some incident, or it could be some kind of beauty in nature. And Pauri, because a lot of poems are also about rain, because monsoons are my favorite. I know they have been very furious this time in Goa, but
Yes,
monsoons have always inspired me to write. Like I
very true.
remember traveling in buses during monsoons during my college days, when I used to study in the MP College and later in Goa University. And that was the time I used to, they say you just the poem comes to you. You don't write a poem. So the poem used to come to me when I used to travel and when I used to see, rain from the window of the bus. And that's why I think it's an ode to monsoons, and that's why it's powerly, and that's why it's also the downpour of my emotions, different
Okay,
emotions,
sure.
and I hope people have been able to relate to what I have uh, poured in those
Definitely.
poems.
I was pretty amazed to know that you hold a PhD in folk theater. I mean, how did
Yeah.
that happen?
I've done my graduation in English, and I also teach English currently at Government College Kepe. And I've also done my master's in English. So actually, research was something that I really stumbled upon. Frankly speaking, I really hadn't planned to do it, but fortunately, I had some amazing peers and amazing teachers at Goa
Sure.
University, and who kind of created that interest in research. And I was always interested in Goa culture, its language, its theater. So I felt that, if I have to study something, then I have to study something about my land. And then, that's how I started doing my doctorate on Goan folk theatre. And it was quite a challenging journey because it's not really literature per se, because I did my PhD in English department. So I had to literally prove the literariness of folk theatre, because it's also, we consider it as a text in culture studies. So I had to do a lot of field work and interview a lot of people. I've worked basically on three major folk theatre forms of Goa, Zagor,
Sure.
Ranmale, and Kalo. So it was very interesting process also for me. And thanks to my guide, Professor Dr. Kiran Budkule, who really was like a major source of inspiration and motivation
Sure.
for completing my PhD. So yeah, that's how it happened. And I've not stopped researching about Goan folk theatre. After that, I'm still trying to learn more about Goan folklore and Goan folk theatre, and I try to write about it. And I think it's a love that will stay with me forever. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned about, that your bus journey, which gives you a lot of inspiration in terms of the rainwater. So what kind of creative space are we talking out here? So is it always spontaneous, or there is specific, creative space that you choose to like come up with creative ideas?
Yes, that's a very interesting as well as very difficult question, I must say. Yes, most of the times whatever I've written till now has been spontaneous, or specifically poems and short stories. But I've always liked to go back to them and try to work upon them, before I publish them or before I show it to people. And especially when it comes to writing plays, till now I've written three plays. After Logout, I wrote Anwani, and then recently I wrote Hidimba. These are the plays that I have written. I think for play, the idea might be very spontaneous, but I think the entire process of putting into a proper structure has to be technical. Even if it is a creative endeavor, you have to follow certain conventions and certain technicalities. And I think it's a great balance of spontaneity as well as technicality that I follow personally when it comes to my creative endeavors.
So since we're talking about creativity, like, how do you handle a writer's block when you get stuck up
Oh my
somewhere?
God. Uh, I think I just give it some time. I just give myself a lot of time because there have been times where I have not written a single word,
Okay.
especially when it comes to poems. There has been a dry spell to continue with the, reference to rains. There has been a dry spell, drought, if I may say, for even 2, 3 years
Okay.
after certain time, and but I have not forced myself to write. I have always tried to I write every day. I don't write, it might not be creative, but I do some entry in my journal every day. So I think until and unless you're just continuing with that process of writing, writers shouldn't feel that, yeah, they shouldn't feel guilty. I stopped feeling guilty for not writing. I think that's how you handle writer's block. uh, but one thing that happens to me is when I watch something nice, or when I listen to some nice music, or when I, watch a dance performance or a play. I think other art forms become great inspiration for me to, they become a trigger for me to break my writer's block. So I listen to music, I watch a movie, and I think
Okay.
it always helps me to write better. Or I read a book. So yeah.
Okay. So what was the thought behind your play Anwani?
Okay, so Anwani is about a couple who just decides to leave the place where they are living, and they are a couple who belong to the labor class. Okay, and it was based upon the migrant exodus that happened during the lockdown in
Yes.
India, and during the COVID pandemic. And I've always mentioned this, that Anwani came out of that privileged guilt that I think all of us went through during lockdown. That we were sitting in our comfortable homes watching Netflix and sipping dalgona coffee, and there was a community, or there was this class of society that was struggling to sustain, and that was struggling to survive. And I think I felt that someone needs to talk about them. Or there needs to be some kind of, not awareness. People were aware, but there needs to be some kind of vent to whatever was happening. And it can happen anytime. In my play, I've never mentioned the time or place or even the names for that matter. It's just the auntie, that is she and he, and it could be anybody's story who's displaced. It's a story of displacement, and it can happen anytime. It may not be only during lockdown. It could be during partition. It could be during any adversity that makes some individual leave the space that they're living in and go back to what they call as homeland. So I've also tried to explore this whole concept of where you feel like you belong and where you feel like home. So I think that was the entire inspiration behind writing Anwani.
Okay.
Yes.
So you explored the topic of marriage and sexual abuse in your collection of short stories, Shorts. So can you please tell
Yeah.
us more about it?
Yeah, some of the stories explore not all.
Okay. Okay.
Basically, Shorts is a collection of stories. They are basically like anecdotes, and they also have a lot of bus travel stories, and there are some stories which involves how women face difficulties while being in public space. Uh,
Oh,
and some of them were inspired also by personal experiences, what I used to experience as a young girl when I used to travel through bus. At
of
times,
course.
even if you are assertive enough, a lot of times you just remain voiceless. You get so powerless when there is another powerful, so-called powerful person trying to assert their force upon you physically, sexually, or even emotionally. So I've tried to deal with that issue in one of my stories.
Okay.
And with regard to marriage, I feel I've always been very fascinated with the concept or institution of marriage and how it has, changed over a period of time. Uh, Basically, relationships are a very favorite topic of mine when I write anything. So, in some of my stories, I've dealt with, very minute yet complex intricacies of married life, like, how it changes after a period of time, like. Uh, the things that a couple shared, they might not feel it same way after some years, but there needs to be some kind of trigger to get back to that spark,
Sure.
or even the memories which are attached, because marriage is something where two people spend so many years together. And I think after some point we just start taking the other person for granted, and we tend to stop cherishing those little moments. So I think, I believe my stories kind of touch upon that particular theme of cherishing these little moments that every relationship has, not just marriage, but even there is a story about, an anecdote between a son and a mother. That mother's character comes just for us, for a bit. I won't give any spoilers. Let people read,
Okay.
but
Sure.
yeah, but I feel that, shorts is about those little moments. It's not about big stories. It's not about big conflicts in lives. It's about the small moments of life where we feel conflicted, or we might take those moments for granted. But I think we just need to cherish them, and we just need to think upon them. We cannot just let them go by, and that's what shorts is about, I think.
Okay. So you
Yeah,
recently won the Yuva Puraskar in Konkani. So tell me, what kind of
yeah.
role these awards play in an writer's life or in a career?
I think until it was declared, I think I was not even sure whether I would really get it, because uh, when I published my four books at once, I published them after a lot of self doubt and lot of questioning myself, that whether these kind of works will be accepted uh, by readers, by eminent writers from the field. But ultimately, there were a lot of feedback and criticism and everything, and um I won't say it was a shocking thing or surprise, because there's a process that goes behind, like you have to send in applications and all that. But I didn't expect that it would come in so early. Just for my first book, or first time when I published, will be awarded with the award. So I was definitely very happy, very delighted, and but I also realized that after the announcement, after the declaration of award, now people are expecting a lot. I was just, I had published my books, and my published books were out there, and I was just doing my routine life, teaching and writing and translating and doing things that I liked. But now there's a lot of kind of pressure that I feel, but it's a good pressure. I think it motivates me to write more. I got a lot of phone calls from a lot of writers from Konkani and other languages, and they said that now don't stop. You shouldn't stop writing just because you got award. You should keep writing. So I feel that pressure. I feel that responsibility, that to give more, to create more and better work than what I've done before, because what I've published till now is product of my 20s, and it could be a little innocent,
Sure.
naive and immature. So now a lot has changed, and I want to bring that out in my work. So award has definitely, I would say, has been a big motivation to write more and to think about writing more. Because there used to be a time where I used to feel, okay, I don't owe to anybody. Why should I write? But now I don't feel it anymore. Now it feels like it's my responsibility to live up to people's expectations and keep giving more creative works to people. Yeah.
With power comes more responsibility.
Oh yes. And with awards comes a lot of pressure, I would say. Yeah. So, but
Sure.
I would say it's a good push. It's a good push. I won't take it negatively. Uh, but yes, it's put me out there on some kind of map, and now there's no going back from it. It feels
True.
like that.
Very true. So can you
Yeah.
tell us about the projects that you're working on currently?
Currently, I am not writing anything, but I am translating work for
Okay.
Sahitya Academy's scheme for translators. I'm translating a play from Dogri language, which is translated in Hindi. I'm taking Hindi as my source language, and I'm translating it in Konkani.
Okay.
The title of the play is Apni Dafli Apna Ra.
Okay.
So I'm translating that. But yes, recently I've also penned down some poems, so I would also like to continue, getting inspired
Sure.
to write poems. I also have, after shorts, got a lot of because of the award shorts, got a lot of publicity and a lot of admiration. A lot of people read it after the award. So now I felt that I should continue exploring the same genre. And I would like to write more short stories, which are very, very short yet impactful. So I'm also writing, I've just started writing one short story like that. Hopefully, there will be more triggers and more inspirations around so that I can pen down more. Yeah.
So we can look forward to shorts too, basically.
I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Okay. Okay. My last question to you: what would be your advice to the budding, authors who wants to pursue their career, especially from Goa?
I think it's very important that a lot of people write in today's world, especially young people, because there are so many issues in the modern world which needs to be brought out in the form of literature. Medium could be anything. It could be an audio book, it could be a graphic novel, it could be even a microfiction like Terribly Tiny Tales or memes or reels, anything. Media. I don't mind any medium, but people need to express. People need to
Sure.
create more because uh, I feel, in spite of being connected, people are sort of getting isolated from each other. I don't know how and why. It's a mystery of modern world that we are 24 hours connected to our WhatsApp, Facebook, and Twitter and Instagram, but somehow that those connections that we shared with our friends and neighbors in the olden times, I think it's somewhere losing out. And if we
Sure.
need to connect people again, I think it's very important that young people write and realize the importance of spoken and written word. But uh, before becoming a writer or before trying to publish yourself, it's very, very important that you read what's already written. Because even if you want to create something new, you need to know what's already there. So I think it's very important to read a lot in any language. I think language shouldn't be a bar. It has never been a bar for me personally. I've read in all four languages that I know: Hindi, Marathi, Konkani, and English. And I love uh, reading from all these languages. So I think it's very important to read uh, from classics to modernness. Like I owe to Chaucer, Shakespeare, Donne, Tagore. I owe to all these writers whom I've studied in my syllabus, and I owe also to all the Goan writers like Pullik Naik, Bhai Mauzo, Hema Naik, and then my own father-in-law Devdas Kadam. So I've read their works, and I think it's very, very important that people, young people especially, read before they want to become a writer or they aspire to become writers. And yeah, that I think that's the only advice I would like to give to budding writers: create and
Absolutely.
read, and try to spread happiness, because that's what world needs today.
Very true. Okay. So thank you so much, Tanvi. It was lovely talking to you. Thank you for taking out
Same
this
here,
time for
same
us.
here.
Thank you.